The morning sky over Washington, D.C. filled with strange lights. People pointed up and stared as the massive ship hovered silently above the city. It had been 2 weeks since the aliens first appeared on Earth's long-range sensors, and today they had finally arrived. Admiral John Harris straightened his uniform one last time before entering the United Nations emergency chamber. At 62, with gray hair and deep smile lines, he carried himself with the confidence of someone who had spent 4 decades in military service. As head of Earth's Space Defense Force, he would lead this first official meeting with the aliens. "They call themselves the Galactic Council," said Diana Wells, the President's chief advisor, as she handed Harris a tablet with the latest intelligence. 12 different alien species working together. They'd been watching us for almost 5 years. Harris nodded. And we never knew. The chamber doors opened to reveal 6 alien visitors. They looked nothing like the little green men from old movies. The tallest stood nearly 8 feet high with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Another had 4 arms and eyes that blinked sideways. The one in front, clearly the leader, resembled a tall, thin human, but with silver skin and no visible mouth. "I am Kral Thex of the Zentari," the silver-skinned alien said, its words appearing in everyone's minds rather than being spoken aloud. "We represent the Galactic Council of the 12 most advanced civilizations in this sector of space." President Laura Bennett stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth, we welcome you." Over the next 3 hours, Kral Thex explained the Council's purpose. For 10,000 years, they had maintained peace among spacefaring races, managed resources, and protected younger species from threats they weren't ready to face. "Your species has great potential," Kral Thex said. "Your adaptability is remarkable, but your history of violence concerns us." Admiral Harris leaned forward. "Every civilization has its dark chapters. We've made great progress." "Indeed," agreed Kral Thex. "That is why we are here. We wish to invite humanity to join the Galactic Council as a protected species." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Protected status meant access to amazing alien technology and knowledge, but it also meant restrictions. "What exactly does protected status involve?" Harris asked, his voice steady but cautious. Kral Thex projected images of advanced medical equipment, faster than light engines, and clean energy systems. "We offer knowledge that would take your species centuries to develop on your own." "And in return?" President Bennett asked. "Resource sharing agreements, cultural exchange, and limitations on military expansion beyond your solar system." There it was, the catch. Harris felt his shoulders tense. "For your protection," explained another alien with features like a giant praying mantis, "you would rely on Council fleets for defense beyond your immediate space. Your ships would be limited in size and weapons capability." That night, after the aliens returned to their ship, Harris sat alone in his office overlooking the Potomac River. The stars seemed different now, knowing what was out there. His secure phone rang. It was General Peter Campbell calling from the Pentagon. "What do you think, John? Can we trust them?" Harris sighed. "They're offering us the stars, Pete. Technology that would solve our biggest problems overnight. But they want to keep us on a leash," Campbell said. "No real fleet of our own. Dependent on their protection." "Yes, and yet I can't help but wonder if they're right. There could be threats out there we can't even imagine." The decision would come tomorrow. Earth's leaders would vote on whether to accept the Council's offer or go it alone. Harris knew most would vote yes. The opportunity was too great to pass up. As he looked at the alien ship through his window, a strange feeling settled in his gut. Not fear exactly. Something else. A sense that the aliens, for all their advanced technology, might be underestimating humans in a fundamental way. "They think we need their fleets to survive out there," he whispered to himself. "I wonder if they're right about that." Little did anyone know how wrong they would turn out to be. 5 years passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. Cities around the world now had strange, beautiful buildings with curved lines that seemed to defy gravity. Hospitals used alien healing pods that could fix almost any injury. Cars and trucks no longer needed gas, instead running on small blue crystals that lasted for years. But not everything had changed for the better. Dr. Samantha Wright pushed her red hair from her face as she studied the alien technology in her lab deep beneath a mountain in Colorado. At 38, she had become one of Earth's top experts on council tech. Next to her stood Colonel Frank Martinez, a broad-shouldered man with serious eyes and a scar across his chin from a training accident. "Look at these readings again," she said, pointing to her screen. "The Council is taking 3 times more minerals from our mining colonies than they originally agreed to." Martinez frowned. "Are you sure? That would violate the treaty." "I'm positive. And it's not just that." She pulled up another file. "Remember how they promised we could build patrol ships up to 300 meters long? Well, look at the approval records. They've rejected every design over 200 meters for the past 2 years. A soft beep warned them that someone was coming. They quickly closed the files as the lab door slid open. Krell Fex, the silver-skinned Centauri representative, glided into the room. Even after 5 years, his way of speaking directly into their minds still felt strange. "Dr. Wright, Colonel Martinez, I trust your research progresses well." "Yes, Representative," Samantha answered carefully. "We're still learning how your gravity control systems work." "Good. Such knowledge will benefit humanity greatly." Krell. Vex moved around the lab, looking at their equipment. "I came to inform you that the Council has approved your request for the new medical facility in Africa. However, we must once again deny the plans for the larger patrol vessels." Martinez kept his face neutral, but his hands tightened at his sides. "May I ask why?" "Those ships would only patrol our own solar system. The designs include weapon mounts that exceed treaty limitations," Kralfex explained. "You must understand, larger ships with stronger weapons might attract unwanted attention from threats beyond your comprehension. The Council fleet protects Earth for precisely this reason." After Kralfex left, Samantha and Frank waited 5 minutes before speaking again. "Did you see how he avoided looking at the mining data?" Samantha whispered. Martinez nodded. "Something isn't right. We need to talk to Admiral Harris." That evening, they met Harris at his home outside Washington. Now 67, Harris had aged quickly these past years. The weight of Earth's relationship with the Council rested heavily on him. "I've noticed the same patterns," Harris said after they shared their concerns. "The Council gives us amazing medical and civilian technology, but restricts anything that could be used for defense. It's like they're keeping us dependent," Martinez said, "and taking more resources than agreed." Harris walked to the window and looked up at the night sky where Council ships could sometimes be seen moving in orbit. "The question is why. If they wanted to conquer us, they could have done it easily 5 years ago." Samantha opened her tablet. "I've been analyzing their fleet movements. The Council ships rotate through our system on a regular schedule, but lately there have been changes. More ships staying longer." "What does it mean?" Martinez asked. "I don't know," she admitted, "but something has them worried." Harris turned back to them, his face serious. "I need you two to continue your work, but be more careful. Don't let Kralfex or any other representatives suspect we're questioning their motives." As they were leaving, Harris received an urgent message on his secure phone. His face went pale as he listened. "What is it?" Samantha asked when he hung up. "A Council outpost near Jupiter's orbit just sent a distress signal," Harris said. "They're under attack, and it's not from any species the Council has told us about." Martinez and Samantha exchanged worried glances. "It seems," Harris said quietly, "that there are indeed threats out there we weren't ready to face. The question is, will the Council's fleet be enough to protect us?" The emergency meeting room buzzed with nervous energy. Large screens on the walls showed a battle happening near Jupiter. Council ships fired bright blue beams at strange dark vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "They call themselves the Void Reavers," Kralthex explained to the gathered human leaders. They are space nomads who consume resources and move on. We have fought them before. Admiral Harris watched the council ships maneuver. They were impressive, each one nearly a mile long with weapons that could destroy a city. But the Void Reaver ships moved in unpredictable patterns, making them hard to hit. How serious is this threat? President Bennett asked. The Council will handle it, Kralthex assured them. This is precisely why protected species such as yours benefit from our defense fleet. Samantha Wright studied the battle footage closely. Their ships seemed to be taking heavy damage. She whispered to Colonel Martinez. She was right. 3 Council vessels now floated dead in space, their lights dark. The remaining Council ships began to pull back, regrouping at a safe distance. Kralthex's silver skin dimmed slightly, a sign of stress they had learned to recognize. A temporary setback. Reinforcements are coming. 2 days later, Harris, Wright, and Martinez met in a secure room deep underground where they could speak freely. The Council fleet has retreated beyond Mars orbit, Harris said grimly. They've lost 7 ships so far. Martinez placed a tablet on the table. What they haven't told us is that there's a small human mining colony on Europa that's now exposed. 42 people with no way to evacuate quickly. Why wouldn't they tell us this? Samantha asked, though she suspected the answer. Because they're prioritizing their own ships, Harris answered. Standard Council protocol is to protect their fleet first, civilians second. Samantha pulled up new data. I've been analyzing the Void Reaver ships. They use some kind of gravity technology that lets them change direction instantly. The Council ships are too big and slow to match them. Martinez leaned forward. What if we don't need big ships? What if there's another approach entirely? What are you thinking? Harris asked. Earth was working on drone swarm technology before the Council arrived. Martinez explained. Small coordinated units instead of large vessels. We never developed it for space because the Council treaty restricted it. But technically, Samantha said, catching his idea, a drone isn't a ship. It's an unmanned vehicle. The treaty limits ship sizes, not drone sizes. Harris nodded slowly. A loophole. But how would we control a swarm in space? The signal delay would make it impossible to coordinate effectively. Samantha tapped her head. Neural linking. The Council has the technology. They use it for their medical systems. What if we adapted it to control multiple drones simultaneously through a human pilot? Would that even work? Martinez asked. In theory, yes. One human mind connected to many small fighting units, moving them as if they were extensions of their own body. No delay, perfect coordination. Harris stood up and paced the room. This would violate the spirit of the treaty, if not the letter. The Council would be furious if they found out. Those 42 people on Europa will be dead if we do nothing, Martinez said. Harris looked at the tactical display, showing the Void Reaver ships moving closer to Jupiter's moons. How quickly could we put together a prototype? With the Council technology we've already studied. 2 weeks, maybe less, Samantha answered. Do it, Harris decided. But keep it absolutely secret. Set up in the old lunar base. The Council rarely monitors it anymore. As they left the meeting, Harris received another urgent message. His face turned grim. The Void Reavers just destroyed a Council patrol near Cetron. They're moving faster than anyone expected. He looked at Samantha and Martinez with determination in his eyes. You have 1 week, not 2. After that, those miners are on their own. Samantha and Martinez exchanged worried glances. 1 week to create a completely new type of space defense system. 1 week to see if humans could succeed where the mighty Council fleet had failed. The old lunar base had been mostly abandoned after the Council arrived. Now it buzzed with secret activity. Deep beneath the gray dust of the moon's surface, a team of Earth's best engineers and scientists worked day and night. Lisa Rodriguez bent over a workbench, her dark hair tied back as she adjusted the tiny thrusters on a drone the size of a small car. At 32, She had been the youngest lead engineer at NASA before the council came. Now she was building something that might save humanity. "How's the neural interface coming?" She called across the room to Alan Blackwell. Alan didn't look up from his computer. With his thick glasses and lanky frame, he looked more like a college student than one of Earth's top programmers. "Almost there. The council medical technology is helping, but linking a human brain to multiple drones simultaneously is tricky." Dr. Wright entered the room, looking tired. She hadn't slept much in the 5 days since the project began. "The Void Reavers have destroyed another council ship. They're getting closer to Europa." Rodriguez tightened the final bolt on the drone. "We're ready to test the first batch of 10 drones. We just need a pilot." "I'll do it," said a voice from the doorway. They turned to see Captain Stephen Grant, a test pilot from Earth's limited Space Force. He had a square jaw and calm eyes that had seen combat in the final wars before the council arrived. "Are you sure?" Samantha asked. "We don't know what the neural link will feel like. It could be dangerous." Grant smiled slightly. "Those miners on Europa are running out of time. We need to know if this works." An hour later, Grant lay in a modified medical pod. Thin wires connected to a cap on his head, leading to a central computer system. Around him, the team watched nervously. "Neural link activating in 3, 2, 1, Alan said, pressing a button. Grant's body tensed, then relaxed. His eyes remained closed, but outside the base, 10 small drones rose from the lunar surface. They moved in perfect formation, spinning and diving in complex patterns. Inside the neural link, Grant felt strange. His mind was in 10 places at once. He could see from 10 different viewpoints, feel 10 sets of thrusters as if they were his own muscles. It was overwhelming at first, but then something clicked. The drones weren't separate machines anymore. They were extensions of himself. "It's working," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "I can control all of them at once. It feels natural." Samantha checked his vital signs. Heart rate elevated but stable. Brain activity is higher than normal, but within safe limits. The test continued for 15 minutes before they disconnected Grant from the system. He sat up slowly, a thin line of blood running from his nose. "Are you okay?" Rodriguez asked with concern. Grant nodded, wiping away the blood. "Just a headache, but it worked. I could feel everything those drones felt. I could move them just by thinking." Colonel Martinez, who had been watching silently, stepped forward. "How many do you think you could control at once?" Grant considered. "More than 10. Maybe a lot more." It was confusing at first, but then my brain adapted. It started feeling like having extra limbs. Their celebration was cut short when Admiral Harris called on the secure line. His face on the screen looked grim. "Kralfex is demanding an inspection of the lunar base. He says Council sensors detected unusual energy signatures. He'll be there in 6 hours." Martinez swore quietly. "We're not ready to reveal the project yet." "Can we hide it?" Rodriguez asked. Samantha shook her head. "Not from their scanners. They'll find the drones and the neural interface." Harris sighed heavily. "Then we need a cover story. Tell them you're developing mining drones to help with resource extraction. That might explain the energy signatures without revealing our true purpose." "Will they believe that?" Alan asked. "They have to," Harris said, "because we just got word that the Council fleet near Jupiter is pulling back even further. They're abandoning the outer planets entirely." The team looked at each other with growing concern. "How long until the Void Reavers reach Europa?" Grant asked. 2 days, Harris answered. "Maybe less. Whatever you're building there, it needs to be ready soon. Those miners are counting on you." As the call ended, Grant stood up. "Let's get back to work. I need to train with more drones." The fate of 42 humans now rested on their secret project, a project that broke every rule the Council had set for humanity. Kralfex moved through the lunar base, his silver skin reflecting the bright lights. His 4-fingered hand passed over equipment, scanning it with a small device. "These are mining drones?" he asked, looking at the small vessels lined up in the hangar. Colonel Martinez nodded. "Yes. With the Council fleet busy defending against the Void Reavers, we thought we could help by automating our mining operations." The silver alien studied Martinez's face. After 5 years working with humans, Kralthex had learned to detect their lies, but Martinez kept his expression neutral. "The energy readings from these drones are unusual," Kralthex said. "They seem more advanced than typical human technology." Samantha stepped forward. "We've been applying what we've learned from Council medical systems. The control interfaces are similar." After 2 tense hours, Kralthex finally left, apparently satisfied with their explanation. The moment his ship departed lunar orbit, the team breathed a collective sigh of relief. "He suspects something," Rodriguez said, "but I don't think he knows what we're really doing." Admiral Harris called from Earth. "We just got word that a small group of Void Reaver scout ships broke away from their main fleet. They're heading directly for Europa. You have 18 hours before they reach the mining colony." Captain Grant stood up. "Then we go now. We've tested 50 drones working together. It's enough for a small engagement." "The system isn't fully stable yet," Alan warned. "Extended neural linking could cause brain damage." "Those miners don't have time for us to perfect the system," Grant replied firmly. 6 hours later, a small transport ship left the moon, officially carrying maintenance personnel, to check on automated systems near Jupiter. Inside, Captain Grant lay in a modified pod, surrounded by monitoring equipment. Dr. Wright stayed by his side while Rodriguez and Allen monitored the drone systems. As they approached Jupiter's orbit, Samantha looked at the scans. 3 Void Reaver scout ships detected. They'll reach Europa in 2 hours. Grant closed his eyes as they activated the neural link. Instantly, his mind expanded. He could feel the 50 drones stored in the ship's cargo hold, each one an extension of himself. When the cargo doors opened, the drones shot out into space like a swarm of metal insects. From the Europa mining colony, Bill Foster watched the sky with growing fear. The emergency message had arrived yesterday. Strange alien ships were coming, and the Council fleet couldn't help them. The 42 miners had nowhere to run. "Something's happening," called Mary Winters, the colony's security officer. She pointed to her radar screen where multiple small objects appeared, moving fast. Foster expected to see the Void Reaver ships they'd been warned about. Instead, he saw dozens of small drones moving in perfect formation, positioning themselves between Europa and the approaching enemy. Back on the transport ship, Grant's body twitched as he controlled the drone swarm with his mind. Sweat covered his face despite the cool air. "Vital signs elevated," Samantha reported. "Brain activity at 180% of normal levels." "The Reavers are in range," Rodriguez announced. Through the neural link, Grant could see the Void Reaver scouts. They were black ships that seemed to swallow light, moving with unnatural speed. In a normal battle, they would easily outmaneuver any human vessel. But the drones weren't like normal ships. They moved as extensions of Grant's thoughts, reacting instantly. When the first Reaver fired, Grant split the swarm into 5 groups, attacking from multiple angles simultaneously. The Void Reavers had never faced anything like this before. They tried to adjust their tactics, but the drone swarm was too unpredictable, too coordinated. One Reaver ship exploded as drones fired simultaneously at a weak point in its hull. "It's working," Alan shouted, watching the battle on the screens. On Europa, the miners stared in amazement as the small drones danced around the much larger Reaver ships, moving with impossible coordination. "Who sent those?" Foster asked in wonder. "Earth did," Winters replied, a smile spreading across her face. "But how? The Council said we couldn't build warships." "Those aren't ships," Foster realized. "There's something else entirely." The second Reaver scout exploded, and the third turned to flee. The drone swarm pursued it briefly, before breaking off to form a protective screen around Europa. In the transport ship, Grant suddenly cried out in pain. Blood flowed from his nose and ears as his body convulsed. "Shut it down," Samantha shouted. "We're losing him." As they disconnected the neural link, Grant collapsed into unconsciousness. The drones, suddenly without control, drifted aimlessly in space. But they had done enough. The miners were safe, at least for now. The council chamber on their massive space station felt cold and unwelcoming. Admiral Harris stood alone before the 12 alien representatives, each from a different species. Kralthex sat in the center, his silver skin reflecting the blue lights. "You violated our treaty," Kralthex said, his mental voice sharp in Harris's mind. The attack on the Void Reaver scouts near Europa was not conducted by mining drones. Harris kept his face calm. "We adapted existing technology for defense. The Council fleet had abandoned those miners." A large insect-like alien leaned forward. "The technology you used is concerning. Our sensors detected unusual neural patterns. Explain this." Before Harris could answer, the chamber doors opened. A hologram appeared in the center of the room showing 3 Council warships exploding. The Void Reavers had attacked a major Centauri colony world. The Council members fell silent, watching their mighty ships fall to the enemy. "We need time to gather our remaining fleet," Kralthex said finally. "The Centauri homeworld is threatened." Harris saw his opportunity. Perhaps Earth could help. "Our mining drones could assist with evacuations while your fleet regroups." The council members looked at each other, communicating silently. Harris waited, knowing this was their best chance to prove the value of the drone system. "Very well," Kralthex agreed reluctantly, "but only for evacuation purposes, not combat." Back on Earth, Grant lay in a hospital bed. His vital signs had stabilized, but he remained unconscious. Dr. Wright checked his brain scans with concern. The neural link put too much strain on his brain. She told Rodriguez and Martinez, "We need to modify the system." Lieutenant Olivia Penn stood nearby. At 29, she had been the second-best pilot in Grant's unit. Her short blonde hair framed a determined face. "I can take his place for the evacuation mission." "It's too dangerous," Samantha protested. "We haven't fixed the system yet." "Then limit the number of drones," Penn suggested. Grant tried to control 50 at once. "What if I only linked with 25? That might be safer." Alan Blackwell looked up from his computer. "We could also add safety protocols to automatically disconnect if brain activity reaches dangerous levels." 2 days later, a human transport ship approached the Centauri colony world. From orbit, they could see the massive cities with their elegant spiral towers, and they could see the Void Reavers approaching, a fleet of 30 dark ships moving inexorably toward the planet. Inside the transport, Penn lay in the neural link pod. Her heart beat quickly, but her breathing remained steady. "Neural link activating," Alan said. Penn gasped as her mind connected to the 25 drones. Unlike Grant, she didn't try to control each drone individually. Instead, she organized them into 5 groups of 5, treating each group as a single unit. The drones launched into space, heading toward the planet. The Council had given them coordinates for 3 major evacuation centers where thousands of Centauri civilians waited for rescue. As the drones approached the planet, 2 Void Reaver ships broke from their formation to intercept them. Penn felt a moment of fear, remembering what had happened to Grant. "Remember, this is just an evacuation mission," Martinez reminded her over the comm. "Avoid engagement if possible." But the Reavers fired first. Penn split her drone groups, sending them in evasive patterns she practiced in flight simulators for years. The Reavers' shots missed, and the drones continued toward the planet. On the surface, the Centauri watched in confusion as the small human drones landed at the evacuation centers. They had expected Council warships. Through the neural link, Penn could see the fear in the aliens' eyes. The Centauri had always seemed so confident, so superior. Now they were refugees facing destruction. "We're here to help," she told them through the drone's communication systems. Board the transport pods. As the first transport pods filled with Zentari civilians and lifted off, the Void Reavers attacked again. This time, 4 ships targeted the escaping transports. "We need to protect them," Penn said, her voice strained from the neural link. Martinez hesitated. The Council only authorized evacuation support, not combat. From her neural link, Penn watched a transport pod carrying 30 Zentari children slow down, its engines damaged by Reaver fire. "I'm engaging," she decided. "Those children won't make it otherwise." Before Martinez could object, Penn sent her drone groups into attack formation. The small, agile drones swarmed around the massive Reaver ships like angry bees, drawing their fire away from the escaping transports. Through the chaos of battle, a single thought formed in Penn's mind. The mighty Council fleet had run from this fight, but humanity had not. Lieutenant Penn's drones saved the Zentari children and hundreds of other civilians. When she finally disconnected from the neural link, she was exhausted but alive. Unlike Captain Grant, she had managed to avoid severe neural damage by controlling fewer drones and breaking the connection before it became dangerous. News of the successful evacuation spread quickly. The Council could no longer ignore the effectiveness of Earth's drone system, but they were not happy about it. "Your drone technology has proven useful," Kralthex admitted during an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders. "But you developed it in secret, violating our agreement." Admiral Harris stood his ground. "We did what was necessary to protect our people when your fleet retreated." Before Kralthex could respond, alarms blared throughout the room. A Council aide rushed in with urgent news. The main Void Reaver fleet had changed course. They were now heading directly toward Earth. The room fell silent. President Bennett turned to Kralthex. "Can the Council fleet defend Earth?" The silver alien hesitated before answering. "Our remaining ships are protecting the Zentari homeworld. We can send some vessels, but they would not arrive in time." "So we're on our own," Harris said. "This is why protected species rely on Council defense," Kralthex said. "Your planet does not have the fleet necessary to repel such an attack." Harris looked the alien directly in the eyes. "Then it's time you removed all restrictions on our drone program. We don't need a fleet. We need our own solution." After tense negotiations, the Council reluctantly agreed to lift the military restrictions on Earth. With only 6 days before the Void Reavers would reach Earth, the lunar base became the center of frantic activity. More neural pilots were trained while engineers built hundreds of new drones. Dr. Wright worked day and night improving the neural interface. Captain Grant had finally woken up, but brain scans showed he needed more time to recover. Still, he insisted on helping train the new pilots. "The key is to think of the drones as part of your body," he told the group of 20 pilots. "Don't try to control each one separately. Feel them as extensions of yourself." While the training continued, Samantha made a disturbing discovery. She called Harris, Martinez, and Rodriguez to her lab to show them her findings. "Look at this pattern," she said, pointing to a display of Void Reaver ship movements. "They began targeting human colonies specifically after we deployed the drone system, almost as if they knew about it." Martinez frowned. "You think there's a connection?" "I've analyzed their attack patterns before and after our Europa defense," Samantha explained. "The change is too precise to be coincidence. Someone told them about us." "Someone from the Council?" Rodriguez asked in disbelief. "I don't know, but the Reavers are coming directly for Earth now, ignoring easier targets along the way." Harris took a deep breath. "Keep this information to yourself for now. We need to focus on the defense of Earth. We can worry about possible Council betrayal later." As the final day approached, Earth prepared for battle. 5 neural pilots would control the drone swarm in shifts to prevent dangerous neural strain. Lieutenant Penn would lead the first wave with 200 drones under her control, far more than anyone had attempted before. Captain Grant, still recovering, insisted on being present in the command center. "I should be out there," he said, frustration clear in his voice. "You'll get your chance," Harris assured him. But Penn has proven she can handle the neural load safely. Early warning systems detected the Void Reaver fleet as it passed Mars orbit. 60 massive ships, each bigger than the largest Council vessel. They moved in perfect formation, their black surfaces absorbing all light. President Bennett addressed the people of Earth one last time before the battle. Today we face our greatest challenge since joining the galactic community. But we face it not with traditional warships, but with human ingenuity. The Council thought we needed their fleet to survive. Today we prove them wrong. On the moon, Lieutenant Penn closed her eyes as technicians activated the neural link. Her mind expanded as it connected to 200 drones waiting in Earth orbit. The sensation was overwhelming, like suddenly having hundreds of extra eyes and limbs. Neural link stable, Ellen reported. Drone swarm ready for deployment. Void Reavers will be in range in 3 minutes, Rodriguez added. Penn took a deep breath, feeling the movement of 200 drones as if they were her own body. Let's show them what humans can do. The Void Reaver fleet entered Earth orbit like a swarm of dark shadows. From the Lunar Command Center, Admiral Harris watched the massive enemy ships approach on the main screen. Their black surfaces seemed to swallow light itself. All civilian shelters report secure, Colonel Martinez announced. Planetary defense systems online. In the Neuralink chamber, Lieutenant Penn lay perfectly still as 200 drones responded to her thoughts. The small machines spread out in a sphere around Earth, waiting for her command. Void Reavers in range, Rodriguez reported. They're launching smaller attack craft. Penn could see them through the drone network, hundreds of fighter-sized vessels pouring from the larger ships. They expected to face a traditional defense fleet. Instead, they found only empty space and a scattered collection of what looked like mining drones. Now, Penn whispered. The drone swarm exploded into action. Unlike traditional ships that moved in predictable patterns, the drones shifted like a living organism. They flowed around enemy fire, regrouped instantly, and attacked from dozens of directions simultaneously. The Void Reaver fighters tried to adjust their tactics, but how do you fight an enemy that moves like water? The drones seemed to anticipate every maneuver, closing in on weak points and then dispersing before counterattacks could land. It's working, someone shouted in the command center. But controlling so many drones taxed Penn severely. After 20 minutes, her nose began to bleed. Neural strain reaching dangerous levels, Samantha warned. We need to switch pilots. They transitioned control to the second pilot, Greg Daniels. As Penn disconnected, she gasped in pain. They're adapting, she warned. The Reavers are starting to predict drone movements. On the main screen, they could see the Void Reavers changing formation. Their main ships began firing in patterns designed to herd the drones into kill zones. Daniels struggled to maintain the swarm's advantage, but after another 15 minutes, they had to switch to the third pilot. By the time the fourth pilot took over, the situation had grown dire. Dozens of drones had been destroyed, and the Void Reavers were pressing their advantage. Their main ships began moving toward Earth, preparing for orbital bombardment. The neural link system is working, but we need something more, Harris said, his face grim. The pilots can't maintain control long enough to finish this. Captain Grant, who had been watching silently, stood up. I have an idea. Despite protests from Dr. Wright about his health, Grant explained his plan. The Reavers are adapting to our patterns because we're fighting like humans. Each new pilot brings a slightly different style. What's the alternative? Martins asked. We fight as one, Grant said simply. Not sequential pilot,